Oh, predictions. These are always good for my channel, aren't they? Hey there, I'm Adrian, and welcome to a little match preview of the Europa League semifinals, where anything can happen at this stage of the competition. Oh, and I'll throw in a prediction for you as well, because I'm a masochist. And remember guys, in this match preview, I'm not going to be able to talk about every single match that each team has played this season, or every single player in their team, etc. A few guys are still going to get skipped. Let's start with Arsenal versus Valencia, and my god are the two English teams left in this competition hard to get a read on. For Arsenal in particular, their domestic form can fly in the face of their Europa League form at times. In the Prem, they at least had the Emirates to not let them down, but this past weekend lost 3-2 to Palace there. Then midweek, they followed that up with an incredibly weak performance against Wolves, in which they leaked 3 goals in the last 17 minutes of the first half. That was Wolves' longest stretch of attacking intent in that match, and Arsenal even broke it up with some possession of their own, but still, they leaked 3 goals in that stretch. By the end of that match, they had 71% possession, but the same amount of attempts as Wolves, and only 1 shot on target. That's got to be a massive worry, as the match against Palace was somewhat of the same sort of thing. Arsenal with most of the play, Arsenal still end up losing. So domestically, we sort of established that Arsenal can't be trusted, as they're part of the group of teams that keeps on saying, no sir, after you, in regards to 4th place, along with Chelsea and United. But as I was saying, their European form flies in the face of all that, at least for the most part. Sure, they looked comfortable against Napoli, though you could argue that Napoli has been struggling since the beginning of March, with 4 wins, 6 losses, and 2 draws. But still, to blank them 3-0 on aggregate, including handing them what was just their 2nd home loss of the season, is very impressive in my opinion. And the rest of their campaign has been decent, besides 2 big blips, a 1-0 loss away to Bate Borisov and a 3-1 loss away to Rennes. On both occasions, they won 3-0 in the return leg at the Emirates, and they thankfully rectified that repeated error in the tie against Napoli. But in the group stage, they qualified before they'd even played their final 2 matches, and they went unbeaten in the process. As for their opponents, Valencia, they certainly had a strange start to the season, seemingly incapable of winning matches, but not really losing a ton as well, as they racked up the draws. They currently have 16 in La Liga, but from the end of January onward, they were perfect, or at least close to it. They couldn't give up their addiction to draws, but they started to win more than they drew, which they couldn't say for the first 3 months of their season, at least. Big performances from Dani Parejo were the highlight, though most recently Gonzalo Guedes has returned from injury and has been a massive threat. Besides, in their latest match, a loss against Atletico, in which quite frankly Valencia in general looked a little bit burnt out and blew a couple of decent chances, but they still only lost 3-2. Despite that, Valencia find themselves in the exact same place standings-wise as Arsenal. 4th is a possibility, as their final 4 matches are all quite winnable, though by no means a walk in the park. In Europe, they are unlucky to drop from the Champions League into Europa, but since then, they've been absolutely amazing. They bounced to rudderless Celtic, or at least a Celtic side that was being managed by a very distracted Brendan Rodgers at the time, as Valencia coasted to a 3-0 aggregate score. Then they slipped past a Russian side, Krasnodar 3-2, and once again coasted past Villarreal 5-1 on aggregate. 5 wins and 1 draw so far from their Europa League campaign. And as solid of an achievement as that is, I don't mean to discredit them at all, but they haven't exactly been placed against powerhouses. Celtic, as I said, aren't what they used to be, and Rodgers was on his way out. Krasnodar are a top 5-ish Russian side, so take from that what you will, and Villarreal's minds will have been a bit preoccupied with trying to escape relegation, which, thankfully for them, it seems like they may just do so. I hopefully haven't jinxed them there. So you can find reasons to doubt both of these teams and reasons to believe in both of these teams. Arsenal probably have more quality on paper in the attack, while prior to their match against Atletico, Valencia had the 2nd best defense in La Liga. If Mustafi plays against his former team, then you worry for Arsenal's backline a bit, while Valencia can sometimes have a giant question mark over who's going to provide that attacking spark. This will also see Emery facing his former club. He coached Valencia from 2008 to 2012, and this will be the 4th time that these two teams have faced each other in a UEFA competition, the 3rd in which they meet in the knockout rounds of the competition. Every time they have faced each other, Valencia has been the winner either on the day or later on aggregate. For Arsenal, This seems like the surest way to reach the Champions League next season, as fourth place is sort of out of their hands in this moment. Coquelin's suspension in the first leg will be a big loss for Valencia, but their home form is one of the best in Europe, having not lost since November 3rd and winning 15 of their 20 home matches since then. Across the entire season, they've lost at home twice, one of which being to Juve. So, Arsenal to win 2-1 in the first leg, but Valencia to take the second 1-0 and advance on away goals. Their home form and defensive record, coupled with Arsenal's streaky away form, will be enough for Valencia to just sneak into the final. Okay, now to the other semi between Eintracht Frankfurt and Chelsea. Chelsea's season has been a strange one. At the very beginning of the Premier League season, I predicted they'd get 6th and sorry ball would take a while to implement. How wrong I felt when they were flying early doors, but Sarri's stubbornness, his famed stubbornness that also made the voyage with him from Italy, did rear its head for the worst along the way, and Chelsea's results fluctuated domestically. Most of the criticisms of his have been his unwavering determination to make his formation and system work, with player selections being suspect at times and results taking a hit because of it. Marcos Alonso has had more playing time than most fans would have liked, while Andreas Christensen, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and Callum Hudson-Odoi, Cho, got quite the opposite. Then you have Kanté being played out of his preferred position to make room for Jorginho, a very polarizing player amongst Chelsea fans, though I think recently he may have won a few more over. He's had more decent performances than poor ones recently, let's put it that way, though he's still not the most exciting player if you're looking for some flair out there. Now, in the attack, they've had an issue in the striker position. At least domestically. Morata flopped, Giroud can't score in England, or at least as well as he can in Europa, but there's a reason for that we'll get to soon, and Higuain has had major issues with confidence and mentality, it seems. Despite that, Hazard has been incredible, and when RLC and Cho get a game, they really add a spark. Of course, Cho is injured though, so he's out for the season after rupturing his Achilles, so Hazard has had to shoulder the attacking responsibilities more often than not throughout this season. Now, in Europe, Chelsea have been flying. They've won every single match except for one, a draw away to Vidi, which was quite forgettable for them. And though it sounds strange to discredit a team that's won every single match but won so far, I think it's fair to point out the caliber of the teams they have played. They've been less than stellar, and there's a reason as to why Olivier Giroud has smashed the Europa League Golden Boot race so far with 10 goals, and Willian is tied for the most assists with 7. Chelsea haven't had to face anything near a top opposition. In fact, they haven't even faced a team from the top 5 leagues yet in the Europa League. If you go by UEFA coefficients, the highest ranked league they've come across is the Ukrainian Premier League, which is ranked 9th in Europe, in which they took on Dynamo Kiev. Other than that, PAOK from Greece, the 14th ranked league, Bate Borisov from Belarus, 21st, Vidi FC from Hungary, the 33rd ranked league, Malmo from Sweden, 22, and finally Slavia Prague from the Czech Republic, 13. This makes me worried for Chelsea in some respects, simply because when they face sterner opposition in the Prem, the rest of the top 6, their record is currently 3 wins, 2 draws, and 4 losses. Not horrendous, but some room for concern. Now, just how stern of an opposition is Eintracht Frankfurt? Well, in the Bundesliga, they currently occupy 4th place, though their hold on it has come under threat from Borussia Mönchengladbach, despite Gladbach's form faltering lately. Frankfurt famously went unbeaten in 2019 until they played Benfica in the Europa League, but we'll get to that later, as Adi Hütter's team have played some attractive attacking football, with their shape more often than not looking like a 3-5-2 or a very attacking 3-4-1-2. Everybody knows about Luka Jovic by now. He's having a great season in both the Bundesliga, where he scored 17, and in Europa with 8 goals, 2 behind Giroud in the Europa League Golden Boot standings. But there's Haller also, who could be back from injury in time to give Frankfurt a boost, Ante Rebic, who is actually suspended for the first leg of this one, and lately Gonzalo Paciencia has been popping up with some key goals. On top of that, I really like their wingback Da Costa, who's full of pace, Kostic is solid, etc. They're pretty decent across the park, though not perfect, of course. Their defense is solid, 3rd best in the Bundesliga, but they are breachable, and Hazard could cause some issues. In Europe, they had a perfect group stage, scoring a ton of goals. In fact, they've scored just 2 less than Chelsea across the entire competition, so it's a battle of 2 of the top scoring teams. They topped their group with 6 wins from 6, ahead of Lazio and Apollon Limassol. Marseille was there as well, sort of, but they had a dreadful campaign. Winless campaign, man. Unrecognizable from the team that made the finals last year. Frankfurt then defeated Champions League dropouts Shakhtar 6-3 on aggregate, beat a struggling Inter side 1-0 on aggregate, then went through on away goals against Benfica. Okay, did Bruno Lage f*** up a bit with Benfica's approach in the second leg? 100%. Did Frankfurt score an offside goal? Yes, but whatever. They did play well as well, probably a bit better than Benfica did, that's for sure, and they show that their home support can do a lot for them. So, how will they do up against a Chelsea side that has been smashing the Europa League, but without any real challenge yet, and has been spotty domestically? Well, when Eintracht Frankfurt is in full flight in the attack, they can be scary. They can hurt you in the air. They can hurt you with their interplay. Jovic is one of the hottest properties. Haller has been great. Gacinovic as well, who I haven't mentioned yet. For Chelsea, they have a major X factor in Eden Hazard. If he so chooses, and if he's up for it on the day, he can drag Chelsea over the finish line on his own sometimes. The loss of Cho is huge, though not fatal. And while the defense is bipolar, Kepa is a strong shot stopper back there. I feel like Chelsea has finally met their maker in this competition now that they finally met some actual competition, you know? Frankfurt to blank Chelsea 2-0 at home, then lose the thriller at Stamford Bridge 3-2 to go through 4-3. Okay, very curious to hear what you guys think in the comments section, so let me know, because once you hit the semis, like I said, anything can happen, man. All right, I love ya, enjoy the Europa League, and I'll see you tomorrow for FIFA and on Monday for the weekend recap. Later.